Hi, Trevor.
Yeah, I mean, Rishi Sunak, I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? We had that de facto referendum on ULEZ and green issues generally in Uxbridge at the by-election, and guess what? The people don't like all of that. You know, I can't quite. Perhaps you can help me. There are all these politicians in the House of Commons. They've been there years, many of them. People of experience. You know, their job is to sell popular policies to the people who will then vote for them and keep them in power. Every party, in every way, seems to have decided, I'll tell you what's going to make us popular. We're going to charge people a lot more money for their heating bills. We're going to charge them a lot more for their petrol. We're going to encourage them not to go to Spain. Don't get on a plane. Don't you go for a sunshine holiday. That's bad for the environment. You know, get a heat pump. Be cold. Be poorer. They've finally realised, due to Uxbridge, that just maybe people don't like that. This Damascene conversion on the part of Rishi Sunak, who now says he's the motorist friend, who now says perhaps we should cut back a bit on this green obsession we've all got. I mean, why are more politicians not realising that, by and large, people don't like higher energy bills, not being able to drive petrol cars, having, you know, low traffic neighbourhood schemes imposed upon them, huge bills, can't go on holiday? Why has it taken them so long to realise maybe that's not the way forward?
Well, that's the big issue, isn't it? How long does it take? It's been years since we had to start putting up with Mayor Khan as mayor of our capital city. And if the Tories had put up a half-decent, half-serious candidate, he wouldn't be mayor now.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a very close result last time, and it was a pretty feeble campaign by the Tories. But the problem with this war on motorists isn't that it's suddenly erupted in Uxbridge over ULEZ. It's been going on, and I live in the centre of London, and I don't drive very often, but when I do, I spend most of my time cursing Mayor Khan. Because
we all do, Trevor, don't worry about that. That's universal.
Absolutely. Everywhere you go, there are roadworks, red traffic lights, five-way traffic lights, holes in the road narrowing, and brand new road narrowing. I mean, they're spending a fortune on new curbs and guttering, and whatever you see roadworks, you know it's not in the best interests of the motorist. But the thing about ULEZ, and I think this has suddenly struck home with the Tories and indeed with Labour, is that this is hitting people on marginal incomes with perhaps only a few £100s each month of disposable income, which is suddenly being gobbled up at the rate of £12.50 every time they take their car out of the door. That just isn't working, and suddenly it's making everyone focus on the whole issue of green policies. The levies you described, they aren't taxes, they're concealed. They're very pernicious levies which aren't actually shown they're not shown on your tax return. You can't say that's how much I pay, because it's all melded in with your electricity bill. And I think that all of these things are suddenly, people are beginning to realise that deadline of 2030 or 2050, depending on what you're looking at, is racing down the road towards them, and they simply are not equipped and cannot afford to meet it.
And if Rishi, as I spoke in terms of his Damascene conversion, I think it's actually rather slow, and in his terms, you know, very dim of him to take so long to hit upon this miracle idea that maybe if you keep things cheaper for people and you let them go on holiday, they'll be a bit happier with you. But that notwithstanding, if he really is backtracking on greenery, I mean, it's quite right that the Tories have said, hello, this could be good electorally. It's going to be very interesting if they have the guts to really commit to it. And that really is my question, because I don't think he really is showing true commitment to backtracking on greenery, because if so, he would abolish or at least begin the process of getting rid of this absurd commitment to carbon net zero by 2050, because if he doesn't, or if some government doesn't, we are going to have our lives, you know, ruined for years to come.
Well, if he doesn't do it, Labour will do it ahead of him, so they'll beat him to the punch. I've got a little more faith in Rishi than you have. I think others have to bear the brunt of the blame for this. And it's people like Boris who fell for the green crap sort of programme that introduced these deadlines, and Theresa May, who turned it into a law that must be obeyed.
That's the problem, isn't it?
You know, the fact that they are so slow to see the anger and the resistance of the average punter, Tory or Labour, to the fact that they're being penalised for something they've never done and done nothing wrong, that is only just beginning to dawn on them years late. I mean, I remember the debate over the green levies and the deadline. And MPs, decent, responsible Tory MPs, were sacked effectively from the party because of the fact that they voted against it. About half a dozen, about 8 altogether, actually had the courage to vote against it. They were very prescient, and their predictions of what has now come about were well ahead of their time.
And, you know, while Sunak now preaches this new line, you know, we're going to be much more pragmatic about green issues, every time he does this, he's never going to be able to send a message of clarity, because I'll guarantee you 10 minutes after he says something, that green fanatic Grant Shapps will stand up and muddy the waters. This Tory transport minister who imposed upon an unsuspecting nation a network of cycle lanes, pedestrian walkways. We almost sort of woke up to them under the cover of lockdown. They were imposed. They were not. We did not get the chance to vote on them. We were not consulted. That was down to Grant Shapps. So the trouble with Rishi's new path in life is it will be counteracted by the likes of Shapps and more of these Tories who are greener than even the Green Party, like Boris used to be.
Yeah, I mean, on that list of things that Shapps is responsible for, you missed out low traffic neighbourhoods, into which the government under Shapps is pouring tens, if not hundreds of millions of pounds into local authorities to block local streets and disrupt traffic and funnel all the cars into one congested area, belching out fumes that allegedly Sadiq Khan is trying to eliminate.
Yeah, well, good luck with that. What he's really trying to do, of course, is to make money, because he's made such a mess of running in London's finances, and he needs the cash. That's all ULEZ is.